Okay, with this video, I'm going to show you how to start lettering exercise number 1. Okay, the first thing we have to do is to attach our medium, which is exercise number 1, which you should have put it out by now. We're going to attach it to the leading edge. We're going to align it, that is, to the leading edge of our T-square. Okay. So we're going to put the bottom against it. It's aligned with that. And then we're going to take I'm just going to move it down, okay? So you can see what I'm doing, okay? So it's still aligned. Good. Good. And then I'm going to take some tape here, okay? And I'm going to, once I can figure it out, there it is right there, okay? I'm going to take some tape, about a half of an inch in width, not much, okay? And then with the, I'm going to hold the drawing against the sheet, that is, against the top edge of the T-square. I'm going to take this corner down. Okay. Make sure that it's aligned with the T-square. Then I'm going to tape this corner down. And you can notice the way I'm taping it too. So you don't need much tape. Make sure it's nice and flat. Then I'm going to bring my T-square up so I can take the bottom as well. Okay, so now that is all taped down and aligned correctly. I'm having a problem with my tape here. Let me get another piece of tape. There we go. Okay. From the first session, we're going to be using construction lines to begin this exercise. And we're going to be using a mechanical pencil because it has in it 2H 0.7 millimeter lead. And as discussed earlier, 2H lead is harder than H lead, okay? And because it has less graphite in it, right? So we're going to be using our mechanical pencil. And we're going to need our architect scale. Of course, the architect scale is a scale that has the fractions on the end. Like, for example, here, 1/4, okay, 1.5 inch, okay? So this is our architect scale we're going to use. Okay. What else we're going to need? Of course, we're going to need our 30-60 triangle. All right. So now with that, we can get started. Let's look at the instructions for the exercise. And of course, we're going to be creating 1/8 of an inch high text. As discussed earlier, for architectural drafting, there are 3 lettering heights: 1/4 for main title, 3/16 for subtitles, 1/8 of an inch for notes and dimensions. Okay. All righty. So now let's look at the instructions. It says using the space below, which is the space right here. Okay. Create guidelines for 1/8 of an inch high text. The space between the guidelines is half the lettering height. Okay? So in this case, since the lettering height is 1/8, the space between the rows of text is going to be 1/16. And then it says to draw a left and right vertical margin using construction lines. And again, as discussed earlier, construction lines are very light in weight and value. You should just barely be able to see a construction line when you draw it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about the architect scale. This particular scale has essentially 11 different scales, okay? But the scale that we're going to be using for our layout work is the scale that has a 16 on the end, okay? This is the full size scale. So we're going to do all of our layout work using the full size scale, okay? Now, in reading this scale, from 0 to 1, of course, is 1 inch, because it's just like reading a ruler. And you should have watched the video reading a ruler. So 1 is 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 4, and so on. Okay, so 0 to 1 here is 1 inch, okay? It says 16 because there are 16 16ths in 1 inch. So that means that this from 0 to this smaller increment right here, okay, smallest one, you can see that, okay, that represents 1/16. And there are 16 1/16 in 1 inch, makes sense, okay? This next increment there is 1/8 of an inch, okay, 1/8 of an inch. The next increment there is 1/4 of an inch, okay? All right, 1/4, okay. This next increment there is 1/2 of an inch, okay? 3/4, okay? And then 1 inch, okay? So the smallest increment there is 1/16. The next increment there is 1/8 of an inch. So that's what we're going to be using, right? So now, we're going to be using our, pardon me, our T-square to draw horizontal lines, okay? So we're going to start there. Right. So let me move my T-square out of the way for 1 second. Now, I want to make a measurement, okay? I'm going to start that horizontal line here. That's going to represent my first guideline that I'm going to make. I want to start at 1 inch below this last sentence right here, okay? 1 inch below. So I'm putting, I have my scale there. I'm putting it at 0 at the bottom of that H. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the 1 inch because I want to come down 1 inch for that line. And I'm going to establish just a reference point right there. Okay, good. So I have my reference point. Then I'm going to bring my T-square up, okay, good. And I'm going to line along the top edge of the T-square with the reference point that I just made. And I'm going to start from left to right. And I'm going to use my mechanical pencil containing my, my 2H lead, and I'm going to draw a line from left to right, okay? So I see you can barely see that line, and that's the way it should be as a guideline or construction line. Okay, good. So I made my 1 inch horizontal line, whereas I'm going to start my text, and then it tells me that I need to draw 1 inch left and right margins. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Come over here. I'm going to take my scale. Okay, let me see. I'll come over this so you can see it better. Good. Good. Right. So I'm going to come over here with my scale, that is, and I'm going to put the edge at 0, and then I'm going to give me a reference mark right there. Okay, good, 1 inch away, if you can see that. Okay, good. So now we use our triangles, and I asked you to use the 3060 because it's larger. We use our triangle to draw vertical lines. All right. So now we're going to bring our straight edge up. Here, I want to bring it up so you can see it. Okay. A T-square. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to, well, I'm going to hold the triangle against the T-square with my left hand. I'm right-handed, so if you're left-handed, you're gonna reverse the process. Okay. All right. So then I'm gonna bring it down. Okay. And I'm going to I'm going to, again, I'm holding the triangle against the T-square, and then I'm going to slide this triangle over until I get to that reference point. Good. And then I'm going to reach over like this, and this is the proper, if you can see this, okay. Let me adjust the camera a little bit better so you can see it. Okay, good. Okay, here's that reference point that I made. Okay, so I'm holding the triangle against the T-square. Okay, bringing the triangle over to that reference point, and then starting from bottom to top. Now I made it a little heavier so you can see it. Okay, but construction lines, this is a better one right here. Okay, all right, good. So again, you see solid technique. So we use our triangles, pardon me, for our vertical lines. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Come over here because I need a left margin, a 1 inch left margin as well. Come over here, put the scale at 1. Okay, make my reference dot at 0. Okay, cool. 0, 0. We're sliding around. All right, then I'm gonna bring the straight edge up. Bring the triangle over to that reference point. Hold the triangle against the T-square, and then I'm going to make that good. Good. So now I have my first horizontal line made with the T-square, and then I have my 2 margins. Okay, as vertical lines made with the triangle. Now, pardon me, I need to now start to make my 1/8 of an inch rows of guidelines with 1/16 space between. Okay, so now this is going to be my first line of my guideline. So let me get my scale back, and please call it a scale and not a ruler. Okay, so I get my scale here. All right, so I see where my 1/8 mark is. Okay, so I'm going 1/8. 1/8 there. Good. Make my reference mark. Bring my T-square up. Okay, good. That's my first row of 1/8 inch high text. Okay, so now I need to make, and I made it kind of dark. You shouldn't be that dark. Okay, so I need a 1/16 space. So now I go back over here. Okay, to my full size scale, and I go 1/16 as a reference point. I bring my T-square up. Okay. Good. All right, so now I have that 1/16 space. So now I need another row of 1/8 of an inch. So I go back to 1/8, make my reference point, bring T-square up. And you see how I'm kind of like rolling that pencil between my fingers. That kind of keeps the tip of the lead rounded. Okay, which gives me better line quality. Okay, so 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. Okay, I need another 16th. Okay. Okay. And I need another 1/8. Okay, so you're going to continue to do that to make multiple lines of 1/8 of an inch text with a 1/16 space between them, because the issue is that you're going to replicate this paragraph within those guidelines. Okay, now speaking of that, you should have by now chosen what lettering style that you're going to use, okay? Lettering style. And I gave you two choices. Okay. Number one, the extended, or number two, the triangle. Okay. Now, in order to make it a style, depending upon which style you choose, you have to replicate how each letter is made exactly as is indicated here, relative to the style, and also the numbers. Okay. Good. All righty. So now I'm going to start to letter, and I'm going to use my lead holder that has the softer lead in it, because we want to letter with H lead, and we don't quite have H lead at our disposal. But the lead in this lead holder that came with it is a soft lead. It's probably too soft right now until we get our actual H lead that is, but we're going to use a softer lead. So now we sharpened it at the, we used the lead pointer to sharpen it at the last video. And what I want to show you, okay, is that after sharpening this this lead and then retracting it, right? Because if you try to draft with it that long, it's going to break every time. So you want to hold the top, and you want to retract it, so it's about that length, if you can see that. Good. But when you first sharpen it, it has a very sharp point to the lead. So what I do, I just take a piece of paper, right? And I heard it crack already, and I just make some lines like this, because that's taking some of that sharpness off the edge of the lead, so it doesn't break as easily. Okay? So that's what I do. All right, so you see some softer lead there. I'm making some very dark lines because the lead is soft. All right, so I'm going to start to letter the first sentence, architectural. Okay, so it wants to roll up on me. I'm just going to move my T-square out of the way for right now. Okay. So I'm going to start to letter, and I'm going to letter within the height of the guidelines. Now, guidelines are designed to control the height of lettering. Therefore, when you letter, you must use the full extent of the guideline, meaning that the letter should start at the top of the guideline and end at the bottom. That's the only way you're going to keep a consistent height. So. Okay, and I'm just using my own style. Okay, typically I use a triangle for my vertical strokes, but I'm not doing it for this demonstration. Okay, so you see how I started my first word here, architectural, and I joined it between the 1/8 of an inch guidelines, right? And making sure that the letter starts at the top of the guideline and ends at the bottom of the guideline. Okay, so that's how you're going to do this paragraph. Now, the spacing between letters, okay? I mean, between words, the spacing between words. If you were to imagine that you had, you've written the word, pardon me, excuse me, you have written the word architectural. So if you can imagine that you have a O there, okay? O there, good. Then you can start the next word. Okay, good. So with that, that shows you how you're going to get started. With lettering exercise number